Clock, and the meeting is called to order. First order of business is to approve the March meeting, the regular March meeting and the May, the May, well, it says March, it should be May. Meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes, both of them. So do we here have a motion? And has everybody had a chance to read them?
I make a motion to approve the May meeting minutes as drafted.
Second.
Both meeting.
I have corrections for the special meeting.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, so just for the May meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion for the May regular meeting minutes? I have something. There were so many corrections. I didn't want to take the time here to go through all of them. So I'm going to be submitting them to be rewritten by city staff with objectivity and impartiality judgment, watching meeting videos.
The May or the special meeting?
Well, it'll be both, but for the May right now is what we have a motion for. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All voting to pass the May meeting minutes, it's a regular meeting. Say aye.
How can we pass it if you want and then can rewrite them?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you can, okay,
Now,
that's a good point. Okay, so I'm going to submit that. And we are going to move on to the May special meeting minutes.
But we haven't voted on the,
We can withdraw the.
yeah, I'd like
We're
to
gonna have to
withdraw my
withdraw that,
motion
yeah.
because we don't know the edits that you're
Right.
making.
And so any comments, any other comments?
This is on the special meeting.
Well, that's on a May meeting.
Are we talking about special?
Yeah, yeah, we're talking
about the May, or the special meeting.
the May special meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion
I know we separate.
and a second?
I'd like,
Yeah.
And then we can get. Is there a second or motion?
I'll second
Okay, and now any other comments for this meeting minutes?
it. This section where you saying you wanted to amend these meeting minutes also?
Yes, yes, I do.
So once again, we can't really vote on them. We don't know what.
Okay. All right, just wanted to get everybody else's comments as well.
Well, they can also put it in queue or. They're amended.
So we'll postpone the May regular meeting minutes and the May special meeting minutes until next month. Is there a motion for that?
Probably, withdraw the motion.
Okay,
Mind if I say something? You mentioned next month. I don't think I can have them done that soon
Okay.
because there's such a short time gap. And we're not really sure who's gonna be taking over this.
would
So
you
most likely we meet.
suggest July? Maybe would be better.
If I could just go-
Excuse me.
I don't know that you have to have a time certain. You
Okay.
can just say, bring them back when they're ready.
Bring
And
them
we'll get them on there.
Because we might have somebody new
Mhm.
taking the minutes. Okay, great. So do we need a motion for that?
I think so.
No.
Consensus is fine.
So everybody agree on that? Wait till we get a new person that will be doing those minutes?
wait until the minutes
Yeah,
are corrected regardless.
It could be me doing
Yeah,
them, but
yeah.
I just don't know that I can have them at the next meeting.
That's fine. And I'm gonna submit my corrections right now, and please contact me if you have any questions.
Okay.
Those are for both. Okay. I've got inserts in there.
Oh, Lisa.
So I wasn't here, I don't know what the heck's wrong.
Both the.
Did you watch
The
the?
video,
I didn't know, but
watch the video.
Okay, watch the videos and that helps a lot for the May regular meeting and the May special meeting. Okay. Anything else? We're gonna move on to the next item, which is visitor comments. And is there any from the Zoom or the floor? Please come forward and state your name.
Here or go up there with
You
you.
can come up here.
Well, I don't like speaking with people behind my back, so. I can-
Okay. All right.
So my name is Greg Pettit. I'm related. And I'm here to make comments on agenda items 3, 4, and 5.
Not a point of order, no? The topics from the floor are topics that are not on the agenda. So you have no say.
Topics from the.
Can I get a clarification on that? That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, everything is brought up, from comments on the floor.
All of the comments,
People are-
topics from the floor on the other committees have to do the same.
Well, people have always been allowed to talk on
Yes,
comments.
but not on the agenda.
Are you allowing public comment during those topics?
Yes.
No, it's, you, public comment is only for things that are not on the agenda. That is always. been
Never
there.
heard that before.
It says it right there from attendees not otherwise on the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, these comments in a way are not on the agenda because I don't think there's adequate time to go over it in this level of detail. So this is what I'm just gonna say. Lynn has been on the Parks and Trails Commission.
Improper.
Pardon me?
You said you're gonna be on the agenda. You're talking about these agenda items, so this is improper.
God,
Yeah.
let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, let's hear what he has.
Please, that's all.
So the reason I'm here is because nobody knows more than me how hard Lynn has worked for Parks and Trails for St. Helens over the last 5 years. Lynn has been on the St. Helens Parks and Trails Commission for 5 years. And she is a great worker. A lot of people sit on these boards and they come to the meetings and they may come and talk about all the things they're gonna do. But when Lynn commits to do something, she does it. She does it full-heartedly and she pursues it. She will go out and make unsolicited calls. She called and got donations for park benches and got people to volunteer their time to build the kiosk at Dalton Lake. She puts her own money into spending for the brochures that supply at Dalton Lake. If somebody's got an issue at Dalton Lake, they give her a call. She's down there the next day, if not that day. I've seen how many times, we gotta go down there and check this out. They say there's somebody camped down there or something. There's nobody as dedicated. Well, I won't say that because I don't know what y'all, don't be unfair. But Lynn is extremely dedicated and extremely hardworking. Now, I have watched all these meetings for the last 3 months. And I think in the last 2 meetings, Lynn has been unfairly and incorrectly painted as being doing something wrong. Lynn is not perfect. There are things she could have handled better, and we all see that, but it's a very difficult position to be in. So I'm here to support her, to say how much she's done for St. Helens Parks and Trails. One of the things I do, a couple of things I want to mention right up front. Lynn has ran all these meetings in close cooperation with the city. She has had frequent consultation with Brandon Sundin and Kathy Payne about how to run these meetings. At no time has anybody told Lynn that she's doing something wrong or that she should be doing something differently. She's always tried to follow their advice. If they saw that she was doing something wrong and they would have given her advice to do something differently, then she would have done it. I can absolutely guarantee you of that. And the last thing I want to say is this could have all been so easily avoided. If Scott Jacobson has simply, when they were counted co-chairs, when they were counted co-chairs, if they would have simply given Lynn a call and said, Lynn, how can we work together? We're co-chairs on this Milton Creek Parks and Woodland Preserve. How can we work together? And Scott could have said, here are some of the ideas I have. He never did that. We were on vacation. She didn't find out about any of this stuff until she got home, and never once in the whole time has Scott contacted Lynn to try to work together.
I'm gonna say something here.
Go ahead.
Lynn's been on the park commission for 5 years. She has done an excellent job. She is, like you said, above and beyond. I've been on this parks commission for probably twice as long as Lynn. I have never seen this park commission act like this till recently.
Yes.
This park commission, me and Howard are probably one of the 2 originals. Instead of working together as a committee, a crew, we're breaking off into every little thing we can get into. We're excluding people from certain things. We're excluding people from this. We're excluding people from that. We want little subcommittees. We're only gonna have 3 people on here. We're only gonna have 2 people over here. We can only have 4 people over here. This Parks Commission used to work together. Everybody in it worked together for the same thing, the same reason, and they didn't just focus on their park. They didn't just focus on, Jerry, I'm gonna just throw this out there, trails. We didn't just focus on the waterfront. We didn't just focus on Nob Hill Nature. We all worked together on all the parks. But now it seems like it's only my park, I'm not helping you. And where can I get more help from my park? Who cares about these other parks? My park.
Thank you for that.
This commission is falling apart.
Thank you for that. So, if I can only respond, Lynn has been on the parks for 5 years. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened. And, I also want to say, make it very clear, these are my comments. Lynn won't make this comment. Lynn won't make these comments because she's trying to strictly adhere to the St. Helens Code of Ethics for commissioners.
And
and
I
boards.
understand that, but you know
But
what?
I feel like I have to speak up because I feel like she's been
You know
unfair.
what? We're big kids here.
Right.
We can handle our own. Howard and I might not agree on everything all the time. In fact, Howard and I usually butt heads on stuff. But I work with him.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like, nope, I'm against you because you're not helping me, so I'm not gonna help you.
So, I
So
think my 3 minutes are probably up and I don't want to belabor this point.
I'm gonna keep going.
Okay, you keep going. I just want to know, I'm gonna submit written comments because they're too detailed to go into in 3 minutes. And I hope that you'll, that the commissioners will have a chance to take a look at these comments. I'm sure you won't agree with all of them, but, I hope you'll consider them fairly. Thank you for your time. Thank you for those comments. I couldn't agree more.
Are there any other visitor comments?
I'm gonna
Zoom?
here again in a minute.
Here's some.
Is there any way you can tell me how long I've been on the commission right now?
Oh, yeah, I have the list right here. 15 years.
15 years. Over 15 years. I've been on this commission. And like I said, this commission now is acting like a bunch of pumpkins. We have a responsibility to work together. That's why we're on this commission. Not to just go head to head against each other. And for us to go head to head against each other, I think is just dumb. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get commissioners to quit. And then they don't, you know what? Screw it. Who cares about the Parks Commission anymore? You know, why do you think it's so hard for us to find people to join our Parks Commission? You know, when we changed the interview process for the people that wanted to apply, I thought that was the dumbest rule we could have ever done. They used to come here, they would sit here, we'd all take turns asking them a question. Now, nope, we can only have 3 people talk to them. So now everybody else is excluded. What if Howard has a question for him that I didn't ask? Or what if Scott has a question for him that Howard didn't ask? We know nothing about these people except for what the 3 people. And it's turning into a popularity contest. And it's, I want to be in charge of this, and this. No, we all need to work together. And if we can't do that, I'm gonna resign.
Before we go on to item,
One more, just real quick comment. That's right. Lisa, I would have submitted those electronically, but I wasn't sure who to send them to. If you can let me know, I'd be happy to send those electronically.
You can send them to me. I can,
Send you, okay, I'll do that.
Lynn has my email address.
okay, on to new business.
Well, can I not make a response to what Greg was doing to you? When you came in here, like, steamrolling us to make his comments,
Scott,
even though it was agenda.
Scott, can I ask you a question? Will be productive.
But I do want to actually clarify that I did email Lynn while she was away. And I also, when she got back, I had emailed her about the presentation, giving her input for it and come back.
You're vice chair, correct? So when Linda's not here, you are in charge. There should be no discussion about that whatsoever. That should be it right there.
So if we're gonna go on to new business, I'm gonna make a motion for.
Well, I've got some comments before new business.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
so as chair, I'd like to go ahead and do this and let people know that I'm stepping down as chair. But I'd like to continue to be on the commission because I love being on the commission and I'm not a talker, I'm a worker. And I started Dot Lake in 2019 with the help of a wonderful advisory team. It was 56 acres. Cooperative management agreement had been made 10 years previously. There'd been a few more attempts to get something done to make that a park before that. And I just thought, wow, this had to be preserved. It was beautiful. And so I'm not gonna give all the history, but I cold called people to get materials to make all 3 of our kiosks. I saved hundreds of pounds of plastic to get our trucks benches. I got 6 of them now. Got on a grant with Cycle Columbia County. I was very pleased to be asked to be part of a grant to get those bike anyway, so I got a lot of donations and all from the community, and it made me really proud that our community was willing to donate like that. I paid for the holders and the brochures. I don't know if you've ever been down there, so that, and that's hundreds of dollars, because every time I get brochures, I make 100 of those. And I, worked with vector control, city staff, environmental organizations, private property owners. I had to go 3 times to Clackamas for a private property owner. DSL, Division of State Lands, and the advisory committee. Walnut Tree Park. And I gotta say, why, and please excuse, he's very passionate about this because he's spent probably a couple of 100 hours at least himself in everything heavy duty. So when people call me and say a tree has fallen over the trail at Dalton, guess who goes down and takes the chainsaw to cut it and clear the paths? He's worked on Japanese gardens. He mows the Walnut Tree Park and he does all the edging. He just did that a couple of days ago. I trim all the plants and make sure that's taken care of in the fall. The Japanese gardens. We started that 2 years ago. We had our first cleanup, and then we started going ourselves just to keep working on it, even with his pacemaker that he had put in. I set a chair down and I says, I'll work while you're sitting here, you can read your book. Just so we could get something started on Japanese gardens and start clearing it up. So, and also Veterans Day, a couple of years ago. We didn't have the money at parks to get a wreath for the Veterans Memorial for Veterans Day. So I talked to Brandon, we both pitched in, we got a beautiful wreath and stand for the Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, that's something. if
And
you-
during COVID,
Commission,
pardon
we
me,
all could have pitched in,
yeah,
and we all would have.
it's all talked about. I always report whenever our advisory committee meets or does anything. I give it up.
Something I would have pitched in on. You don't have to take all the responsibilities onto yourself.
But well, I'm not trying to take.
Note of her own statement as I move forward into my presentation.
Okay. So, we did weeding, in fact. I think it was Brandon's family, and we got out and did weeding before, right around the memorial. And all those flower beds that were there. During COVID, we worked, he brought his weed eater and got permission to take down the weeds that were growing up, the street level, and the rose bushes and the Japanese maples. I cut those. I usually cut those every year, actually. Citizens Day in the park. He sets up the canopy, brings our table, brings a couple of chairs. I mean, it's just, we're just there. We're just there for the parks. And that's why, and I enjoy it. I love doing it. And whoever needed help in their park, I'd be there. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm stepping down as chair. And so I am turning the meeting over to Scott.
With the order that, we're accepting the resignation. It does affect voting status if we had to accept her resignation right now. And I'd rather have we accept it after we have a presentation. And on that, I'd like to make a motion that Brandon facilitate the meeting as we go from here on out, so there's no, any questions. Brandon will be accepted.
Vote on it.
We have a second now? Discussion?
I'm against it.
I don't know if I wanna vote at all.
No.
I just,
It goes
this
against.
this is what I'm talking about though, guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about.
I would really love to move forward in my presentation. I think it would be really an excellent way to clarify a lot of the things that are going on here. And so, regardless, having someone run the meeting would be appropriate.
15 years I've been on this commission, I've never, ever had anything close to this.
Yes, I understand that.
And I don't get it. I don't get where it's coming from.
Well, maybe if you get, we have.
Well, I'll listen. I'll listen.
So
I don't know if I wanna vote on anything yet.
Yeah, I just wanted to hold off on everything until,
Why does that have to be? I don't understand why it has to be held off, and you're vice chair, you could step in as chair.
Well, Brandon's gonna take over the meeting.
My preference would be to have the commission act in its capacity as a commission. We have
I don't
a
think we can.
we have a vice chair.
Right now, I don't think this commission could. I really don't. I really think you should step in. Being our commissioner,
If you'd like to vote, that's up to you.
being our councilman, I think you need to step in and take control of this meeting.
For today only.
You know, I've had many councilmen up there,
I've spoken with.
and I really like you. I think you're doing a great job. They would not let it get like this, and I don't know how it happened, so. I really suggest you take over this meeting before,
And I spoke to Kathy Payne, and it's proper. Ask you to do that.
I think it's uglier than it's gonna be.
Yeah, if you'd like to vote on it, that's up to the
Do you need
group.
to vote on it, or can you just do it? Can you just use your
I would-
power?
I would have you use your power as a commissioner.
I'll go with him running the meeting.
Right.
That's all I'm voting
what's
for.
on the board, right.
That's all I'm voting on.
Aye. Sorry, man.
So
Is there any nays?
Lynn voted nay.
Right. I'm not sure who the phones are, Nick.
I'm gonna abstain.
What's that?
Who's abstaining?
Who's on the iPhone? Is that Paul?
iPhone is Reed Herman.
Oh, Reed's there. Oh, good.
And Nick should be on the other one.
Yes.
What is your vote?
My
Well,
vote is-
unfortunately, I started late on the meeting and then I had a customer come and I had to run out and run back. So I missed some critical points. The last part I got to is when you guys were asking someone to join in. So I just need to be briefed and then maybe I can make a decision at that point.
We're asking Brandon to run the meeting because I
Okay.
don't think council can do it as a council. I don't think you could get along.
Too hot on the topic.
Scott made the motion, someone seconded it, and I told Brandon he should run the meeting
For tonight or.
for today only.
Today only.
Can you
Yeah,
explain-
I agree. That's fine. I mean, anyone that can mediate to kind of keep things controlled and going in a positive direction would be great.
I'm sorry you're just coming into this.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Your show.
is there anything before we go to item number 3? Turn the time over to Dana.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the attention and opportunity to have this discussion today. And I would like to begin by expressing gratitude to both Lynn and her husband. I've seen an immense amount of work and effort put towards not only our parks, but the commission itself since I joined. And I am grateful for your enthusiasm thus far. However, I would like to begin this conversation with a reminder that all of us are held to the same standards as commissioners for the city of St. Helens. And so without discussion on any specific instances, circumstances, behaviors, etc., I would like the commissioners and other fellows to listen with open ears, keeping in mind not only the last several meetings that we've had, but also the discussions and comments made today by all speakers so far. The first thing I'd like to reference would be our boards, committees, and commissions code of conduct, which all members of the commission should have read through, agreed to, and signed. And it is all viewable on the city's website. Are you talking about this one? Yeah.
Code of conduct?
Yep.
Oh,
So under the note accountability, I'd like to open on this. It says, to ensure public confidence in the integrity of the city of St. Helens, board members are held to a high standard. For this reason, the city council believes the code of conduct is as important to the public process as other rules and procedures. It is recognized that there may be times when action is required to correct and/or prevent behavior that violates the code of conduct. The first line of the code of conduct reads, this code of conduct provides a framework to guide members of boards, committees, and commissions in their actions. First bold line, member conduct. This section describes the manner in which board members will treat one another, other city officials, elected and appointed, members of the public, and city staff. Board conduct during meetings. Practice civility, professionalism, and decorum in discussions and debate. Difficult questions, tough challenges, and particular points of view and criticism of ideas and information are legitimate elements of democratic governance. However, this does not allow board members to make belligerent, personal, slanderous, threatening, abusive, or disparaging comments. We are to avoid personal comments that are intended to or could reasonably be construed to purposefully offend others. For board conduct outside of public meetings, we should continue professional and respectful behavior outside of public meetings, continuing the same level of decorum and consideration for differing points of view deemed appropriate for board meeting deliberations as outlined above should be maintained in other public settings, private conversations, particularly when discussing city business, city officials, elected and appointed, members of the public, and city staff. Unless sharing specific information voted on by the majority of the board, you shall express only your personal opinions. Never represent yourself as a spokesperson for the city unless you are authorized to do so by the city. If the city is a subject of the content you are discussing, be clear and open about the fact that you are a member of a city board, but that your views do not represent those of the board, the city, its employees, or its elected officials. Moving on to board conduct with the public. We should be welcoming to speakers at public meetings and treat them with respect. Board members should commit full attention to the speaker. Comments, questions, and nonverbal expressions should be appropriate, respectful, and professional. Make no comments or commitments on behalf of the board in unofficial settings. It is appropriate to give a brief overview, overt or implicit commitments that the city will take specific actions, however, are to be avoided. Board conduct with staff. Respect the professional duties of city staff. Board members should refrain from disrupting staff from conducting their duties, participating in administrative functions, including directing staff assignments. Moving on to board member values. The individual attitude, words, and actions of board members should reflect the values of respect, integrity, and I believe above all, service to the community. Respect, as defined by our code of ethics, is to show respect to others. Board members are expected to treat board members, city officials, elected and appointed, members of the public, and city staff with patience, courtesy, and civility, even when they disagree on what is best for the community. Conduct themselves in a professional, courteous, and respectful manner at all times. Be honest with fellow board members, the public, and others. Integrity. To demonstrate integrity as a public official, board members are expected to make independent, objective, fair, and impartial judgments and avoid relationships and actions that give the appearance of compromising objectivity, independence, and honesty. A few lines down, it says, use public resources such as staff time, equipment, supplies, or facilities only for city-related business and only with authorization from the city administrator or applicable department director. Service. To serve the public effectively, board members are expected to review materials in advance of the meeting. Respect the distinction between the roles of citizens, elected officials, appointed board members, and staff. Promote meaningful public involvement in decision-making process. Early recognition is under accountability. And just to be clear, all items that I am discussing today, specifically, I know I'm not reading the entire thing, all of them are items that I firmly believe have not been held in regards to specifically Chair Pettit, but they're good reminders for all of us as commissioners. Under accountability, it says early recognition of the questioned conduct is encouraged and progressive counsel may occur with the board member, though it is not required. Should it become necessary for the city council to consider the removal of a board member, it may designate a staff or council member to contact the board member to make them aware of any concerns regarding alleged misconduct, non-performance of duty, a failure to obey the laws of the federal, state, or local government. The board member has the option to provide a timely response to concerns with the timelines established by the council. The city council reserves the right to remove board members at its discretion, whether or not an opportunity to respond has been given. Under use of property, city-owned real property is fully owned and maintained by the city or official city volunteers. Board members do not have rights over any city-owned property. Under implementation and certification, all board members will be given a copy of the code of conduct and will be required to affirm in writing that they have received the code, understand its provisions, and pledge to conduct themselves by the code. Any board member declining to sign the code of conduct certification may be removed from the board. On the last page, the signing and declaration page, it says, I have read and understand the St. Helens Code of Conduct for members of boards, committees, and commissions, and I understand its application to my role and responsibilities while serving on a city board. I pledge to conduct myself by the St. Helens Code of Conduct for boards, committees, and commissions. I understand that the city council may remove me from my position if my conduct falls below these standards, whether or not the city council has informed me of concerns and provided me with an opportunity to respond to concerns with any timelines established by council. I understand that if I refuse to sign this code of conduct certification, I may be removed from my position. For additional clarification, I've also reviewed our bylaws for the Parks and Trails Commission, as we are supposed to be operating in alignment with them. So I will take note of a few things on here. Article 2 of our bylaws says the purpose of the Parks and Trails Commission is to encourage opportunities for parks and trails use in St. Helens. Identify groups and organizations that could help enhance the parks and trails system in the St. Helens area. Provide liaison and recommendations to the city council and other city commissions and boards. Advocate and promote parks and trails in the community. Identify funding opportunities for the parks and trails, and to perform such other park and trail related tasks as it shall be directed by council to perform. In addition, the Parks and Trails Commission shall have responsibilities, duties, and powers as stated in chapter 2.74 of the St. Helens Municipal Code as amended, which I will read here shortly. In Article 4, term of office vacancy, center paragraph says, a commissioner may resign at any time. A commissioner may be removed from the commission for cause following a hearing before the city council. Cause for removal includes, but is not limited to, misconduct in office or non-performance of official duties, violation of government ethics, or conviction of a felony or misdemeanor involving moral turpitude, including the crime of official misconduct. In Article 5, officers. A majority of the at-large members shall comprise a quorum for the conduct of business, and the concurrence of majority of those members present shall be required to decide any matter, except that no commission meeting to conduct business shall be held by less than 5 members. Just to clarify, I will be providing some notes from the ORSs in regards to meeting laws. Just so you know that we'll be referencing that later. The chair shall have the responsibility of conducting all meetings and hearings in an orderly manner. Except for unanimous consent, the chair may not initiate a motion, but may second and shall vote on each issue after the question is called. In Article 6, subcommittees. The commission shall have the power to create subcommittees with such responsibilities as the commission directs. The subcommittee chair shall be responsible for scheduling meetings, assigning specific tasks within the mandate of the subcommittee, and reporting to the commission concerning the work of the subcommittee. Article 7. The commission is a public body for the purposes of ORS Chapter 192 and is subject to the statutory procedures related to public records and meetings. The commission is subject to the open meeting laws, ORS 192.610 to 192.690, and shall conduct meetings accordingly. The first reference is the municipal code. Municipal code 2.74.050, removal and resignation. Again, an at-large Parks and Trails Commissioner may be removed from the commission for cause following a hearing before the City Council. A commissioner may resign in lieu of removal following a hearing. Cause for removal includes, but is not limited to, misconduct in office or non-performance of official duties, violation of government standards and practices, conviction of a crime, including the crime of official misconduct, as well as any other actions or conduct by the commissioner which is detrimental to the reputation and goodwill of the city of St. Helens. In 2.74070, the municipal code, it states all meetings of the Parks and Trails Commission shall be open to the public and shall in all respects fully comply with Oregon public meeting law. Special meetings of the commission shall require not less than 24 hours notice to local newspapers and posting of meeting notice in public places, reasonably calculated to give notice to interested parties. The Parks and Trails Commission shall have the authority to make and alter written rules for the conduct of its business, including rules of procedure for conduct of public meetings and public hearings. In 2.74.090, responsibilities, powers, and duties, the Parks and Trails Commission shall have the responsibilities, obligations, and duties of appointed public officers, and the Parks and Trails Commission shall have the responsibilities, obligations, and duties of an advisory public body as provided for in laws of the state of Oregon, and the laws of the city of St. Helens. The Parks and Trails Commission shall have the power to act in an advisory capacity to the city council in all matters pertaining to the operation, planning, development, improvement, beautification, equipment, and maintenance of public parks, trails, public bicycle and or pedestrian ways, vacant park properties, public squares, and publicly accessible buildings and associated grounds. To clarify, advisory by definition is having or consisting of the power to make recommendations, but not to take action enforcing them. To review and call, we have authority as commissioners to review and call to the attention of the city council any deteriorating condition of city public parks, trails, bicycle and or pedestrian ways, vacant park properties, public square and publicly accessible buildings and associated grounds, and their associated infrastructure improvements, including but not limited to access roads, equipment, athletic fields, gardens, landscape areas, open spaces, natural areas, playgrounds, and parking areas. To review and call to the attention of the city council the effectiveness or lack thereof of parks, trails, and public bicycle and or pedestrian ways. To review and make recommendations to the city council on the operation, administration, maintenance, and equipment needs of the Public Works Department relative to parks, trails, and public bicycle and or pedestrian ways, and the other public facilities identified in this section. To review and make recommendations to the city council on the annual budget of the Public Works Department relative to parks, trails, public bicycle and or pedestrian ways, and the other public facilities identified in this section. To review and make recommendations to the city council on master plans and capital improvement plans for parks, trails, public bicycle and or pedestrian ways, and the other public facilities identified in this section. To review and make recommendations to the city council on public park and bicycle and or pedestrian ways construction plans, recreation use or development proposals, and such other park related activities as deemed advisable by the city council. To make periodic site visits and inspections in accordance with public meeting laws. And with the approval of the city engineer director of city park trail facilities, public bicycle and or pedestrian ways, and other public facilities identified herein, as are necessary for the Parks and Trails Commission to carry out its assigned duties. To request that the city council assign or direct staff to prepare reports and compile information necessary for the Parks and Trails Commission to carry out its assigned duties. Now, due to the fact that there were numerous ORSs and meeting laws cited, I would like to clarify some items from those. For the Oregon policy of the public meetings law, the Oregon form of government requires an informed public aware of the deliberations and decisions of governing bodies and the information upon which such decisions were made. It is the intent of the public meetings law that decisions of governing bodies be arrived at openly. If you go to the Oregon Department of Justice, this is what's on their website in regards to public meetings. Governing bodies definition. The public meetings law applies to any governing body of a public body. A public body is the state, any regional council, city, county, or district, or any municipal or public corporation, or any agency of those entities, such as a board, department, commission, council, bureau, committee, subcommittee, or advisory group. If two or more members of any public body have the authority to make decisions for or recommendations to a public body on policy or administration, they are a governing body. For example, a 5-member city council and a 7-member licensing board are both governing bodies. In addition, a 3-member committee of a 7-member board is itself a governing body if it is authorized to make decisions for or to advise the full board or another public body. So keep that in mind as I go forward in discussing our subcommittee meetings. Body that has authority to make decisions for a public body on policy or administration is a governing body. Thus, a 3-member subcommittee that has authority only to gather information for the full committee is not a governing body, only gathering information. Even though the subcommittee decides when to meet and the subcommittee and determines what procedures it will use to gather and report information, it is not vested with the authority to decide the direction in which the government will move on an issue of policy or administration. In contrast, if the subcommittee possesses the authority to make policy, or in this case, hiring decisions for a public body, then it is a governing body. So thus far, our subcommittees have been acting as a governing body and then therefore would be responsible to adhere to public meeting laws. A body that has authority to make recommendations to a public body on policy or administration is a governing body. As long as the advisory body itself is itself a governing body of a public body, the fact that its members may all be private citizens is irrelevant. Thus, the scope of the public meetings law extends even to private citizens, employees, and others without any decision-making authority when they serve on a group that is authorized to furnish advice to a public body. Meetings and deliberations subject to the law. All meetings of a governing body must be open to the public unless public meetings law permits the body to meet in executive session or otherwise provides an exception. In addition, a quorum of a governing body may not meet in private for the purpose of deciding on or deliberating toward a decision on any matter unless an exception applies. While quorum is not defined in the public meetings law, the default quorum appears to be a majority of the governing body unless otherwise expressly provided by law. A governing body may only make a decision at a meeting at which a quorum is present. A gathering of less than a quorum of a governing body is not a meeting. However, members of a governing body should not gather as a group or groups composed of less than a quorum for the purpose of conducting business outside the public meetings law. Such a gathering creates the appearance of impropriety and runs contrary to the policy of the public meetings law, which supports keeping the public informed of the deliberations of governing bodies. In addition, such a gathering creates a risk of violating ORS 192.6302 through serial communications. The public meetings law applies to all meetings of a quorum of a governing body for which a quorum is required in order to make a decision or to deliberate toward a decision on any matter. The law also applies to a quorum's private decision-making or deliberations on any matter on which a vote of a governing body is required. That includes everything we've been discussing on all of the subcommittees. Even if a meeting is for the sole purpose of gathering information to serve as the basis for a subsequent decision or recommendation by the governing body, the meetings law will apply. This requirement serves the legislative policy that an informed public must be aware not only of the decisions of the government, but also of the information upon which such decisions were made. Hence, except for on-site inspections, information gathering and investigative activities of a governing body are subject to the law. Regarding serial communications, a governing body risks violating meetings law through a series of private communications, even if a quorum isn't involved in any single communication. For example, the Court of Appeals held that a county administrator's emails and phone calls with various board members deliberating towards the resolution of a public records request could be a violation, even though no single email or phone call involved a quorum. The court explained that the determinative factors are whether a sufficient number of officials are involved, what they discuss, and the purpose for which they discuss it, not the time, place, or manner of their communications. In discussing statutorily exempt public meetings, a meeting does not include an on-site inspection of any project or program or a gathering of any national, regional, or state association to which the public body or its members belong. Requirements of the law for notice. The Public Meetings Law requires that public notice be given of the time and place of meetings. The public notice requirements apply to any meeting of a governing body subject to the law, including committees, subcommittees, and advisory groups. A governing body's public notice must also be reasonably calculated to provide actual notice to the persons and the news media that have stated in writing that they wish to be notified of every meeting. In addition to providing the date, time, and place of the meeting, the notice should provide the name and telephone number, including TTY number if the public body has such equipment in service, of a person at the public body to contact to request an interpreter for the hearing impaired or for other communication aids. The notice must also include a list of the principal subjects anticipated to be considered at the meeting. This list should be specific enough to permit members of the public to recognize the matters in which they are interested. A governing body may take up additional subjects arising too late to be mentioned in the notice. Methods of notice. The goal of notice for any meeting is twofold: to provide general notice to the public at large and to provide actual notice to specifically interested persons. The following are suggested methods of notice, which we adhere to if we notify our staff people as we're required.
Can I just ask how much time you anticipate you might need to?
4 minutes, I'm almost done. Regards to voting, all official actions by governing bodies must be taken by a public vote. Minutes of record keeping, the governing body must provide for written minutes of its meetings and executive sessions or sound, video, or digital recording. The written minutes or recordings must include at least the following information: members present, motions, proposals, resolutions, orders, ordinances, and measures proposed and their disposition, the substance of any discussion on any matter, and a reference to any document discussed at the meeting, unless even a reference to the document is exempt under public records. Written minutes need not be a verbatim transcript, but they must give a true reflection of the matters discussed at the meeting and the views of the participants. Any minutes of recording of a public meeting that does not take place in executive session must be made available to the public within a reasonable time after the meeting. It does go through and say it doesn't define a reasonable time, but that 60 days should be sufficient while it's not a requirement. In regards to executive or closed sessions, the Public Meetings Law authorizes governing bodies to meet in executive session in certain limited situations. An executive session is defined as any meeting or part of a meeting of a governing body which is closed to certain persons for deliberation on certain matters. I can say that none of the meetings that we have for our subcommittees have met the circumstances to be considered an executive session. Final decision prohibition. No executive session may be held for the purpose of taking any final action or making any final decision. A decision to formally, in regards to making final decisions, a decision to formally offer a position to one candidate is a final decision even before acceptance. So that includes the way that we have been performing our interviews. A governing body meeting in an executive session must return to public session before taking final action. Injunctive or declaratory actions. Anyone affected by a decision of a governing body may file a lawsuit to require compliance with or prevent violations of the Public Meetings Law by members of the governing body, or to determine whether the Public Meetings Law applies to meetings or decisions of the governing body. An action may be brought even before any decision affecting the plaintiff has been made and is not moot solely because the governing body has ceased its improper meeting practices. If a court determines that a governing body made a decision in violation of public meetings law, the decision may be voided or the court may order appropriate equitable relief. Similarly, if a subcommittee decides on a recommendation to a public body in violation of the law, the public body can avoid the voiding of its subsequent decision by making the decision in full compliance with the law. However, if a governing body's violation was the result of intentional disregard of the law or willful misconduct by a quorum, then the court will void the decision despite any attempt to reinstate the decision unless other equitable relief is available. In addition, any members of the body who engage in the willful misconduct will be personally liable to the governing body for any attorney fees that it has to pay to the plaintiff. Complaints about public officials have violated executive session provisions may be made to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission for review and investigation. Violations can result in civil penalties up to $1,000 unless the governing body was acting under the advice of its legal counsel. In reviewing and investigating a complaint, the commission may interview witnesses, review minutes and other records, and obtain any other information pertaining to the governing body's executive sessions. The last document I'd like to reference quickly is the Business Oregon Public Meeting Laws Summary. The purpose of this, again, is to clarify that public body is the state, a regional council, city, county, or district, or any municipal or public corporation or agency of those entities, such as a board, department, commission, council, bureau, committee, subcommittee, or advisory group. A governing body is a body that has authority to make decisions for public body on policy or administration. Also, a body that has authority to make recommendations to a public body on a policy administration is a governing body. It also applies to their subcommittees. Is the meeting subject to public meetings law? All meetings of governing body must be open to the public unless the public meetings law permits the body to meet in executive session or otherwise provides an exception. A meeting is the convening of any governing body for which a quorum of the governing body is required in order to make a decision or to deliberate toward a decision on any matter. A quorum is the minimum number of members that must participate in order for the governing body to transact business. Generally, the majority of the governing body is a quorum unless otherwise expressly provided by law. If a quorum of the governing body is meeting privately outside a formal meeting, it's still a meeting unless an exception applies. A gathering of less than a quorum of a governing body is not a meeting. However, members of a governing body should not gather as a group or groups composed of less than a quorum for the purpose of conducting business outside of public meetings law. Such a gathering creates the appearance of impropriety and runs contrary to the policy of the public meetings law, which supports keeping the public informed of the deliberations of governing bodies. In addition, such gatherings create a risk of violating ORS 192.6302 through serial communications. Even if a meeting is for the sole purpose of gathering information to inform a subsequent decision or recommendation by the governing body, the public meetings law will apply. It's very explicit in the fact that all of our subcommittees are in themselves a governing body, and all of our subcommittees are then responsible for adhering to the public meetings law, and that a majority of the subcommittee counts as a quorum. I know I'm beating your guys' ear bloody and I'm so sorry.
I'm assuming, Dana, you're sharing this because you feel there's been some problems.
Every single item that I have brought forward out of all of these documents thus far have been violated in one form or another during at least the years that I have been on this commission.
Have any of these any of these concerns about public meetings, have you brought them up?
Yes, I have.
Can you describe? How,
Specifically in regards to a subcommittee meeting that took place at the beginning of last year. And we held a meeting as recommended and set up initially by Lynn. It was right after I took over as the chair, in which I then was reprimanded by an email that went out to John and other members of council, including the mayor, stating that we had violated meeting laws. At that time, I met with Kathy and I reviewed all of these. Noticed that we were in violation, but due to the fact that it was erroneous on my behalf, just due to ignorance, they were patient and made no further movement on the action. However, as soon as Lynn took back over chair at the beginning of this year, she held another meeting the same way that had a quorum of the greater body that I was concerned about. And regardless, by these definitions, it still violated the meeting's law. And I chose to abstain from that meeting so that we would not be in violation of it. And I mentioned to Lynn, to Jerry, to others, and spent quite a few days receiving texts from the members stating that I was in error and that the meeting would be held and requesting my presence to do so. I continued to decline and I did not attend the meeting. But then at the very next Parks Commission meeting, it was clarified by members that they had spoke to Kathy and that the meeting was okay to be held as was without public notice. But that is not true in accordance to ORS and the public meetings laws as defined.
All of our subcommittees.
That's why I thought it was appropriate, not just for the purpose of attending to Lynn as is, but as a general reminder that we should be behaving in accordance with not only our code of conduct, our bylaws and the municipal code, but also all laws and rules and regulations by the state of Oregon in regards to our meetings, and that the chair is responsible for adhering to those specifically. It is their responsibility, their right, their role to ensure that we are doing things correctly and in accordance with these laws and rules. As soon as I found out we were not in accordance, I ceased to support meetings that were violating those rules.
I want to say something here. So, and I told Kathy this, I have no problem giving Kathy a week or when we have a subcommittee meeting, it doesn't happen. I don't say, hey, we're having a subcommittee meeting tomorrow. And we're gonna have one. When does it work for everyone? It's usually a week or two down the line. And I have no trouble calling Kathy and say, hey, we're gonna have a meeting at such and such a time. It's gonna be located here. However, I know that what Dana is talking about here, because we talked on the phone quite a bit about this. So I talked to Kathy Payne, and the definition of a quorum was less than 50% of a committee. So if we had 9 people, then it was, 4 people.
But that is not true. That is not
Well, hey, I'm not arguing. Let me finish, Dana. No,
right.
you read the things there.
Right.
But I'm saying this is what I was told.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I also told Kathy, I have no problem in letting people know this. And the other thing I want to mention is talking about making what I would call recommendations, making decisions. Jacob said, you're focused on Nob Hill, I'm focused on the urban trail, etc. But I want to support everyone. We should use this as a learning experience. My feeling is we should use this as a learning experience.
Absolutely.
Where was I going with this? Okay, recommendation making versus decision. I know that when the subcommittee has met, we've been totally transparent. Well, I guess we haven't been because we didn't have, open to the public, but it wasn't done, maliciously. Yeah. So even though we discussed what we wanted to do, there was never really a decision made on that. So it was You know, we didn't say, hey, this is, you know, before anything got approved, we've talked about, hey, we're gonna make a presentation to the Parks and Trails Commission. I wanna make a presentation with the rest of the subcommittee to the, you know, the city council. So that a decision can be made. I have done my best. The counsel I was given was that we could have a meeting. And, you know, so I have no problem, and I think we should probably, you know, from this moment on, if we're gonna have a subcommittee meeting, you know, schedule it. Let Kathy know, she can publicize it. I don't see that as a hardship in any way, shape, or form,
It's not.
in my opinion.
But the minutes have to be taken and all that, so it's
Correct.
gonna be.
So in that
more
regard,
cost.
right, it has to be public, it has to be announced, and minutes have to be taken and then brought back forward to the governing body. Also, any discussions at all of 2 or more people, and that includes members of the public, it doesn't have to be a commission member, still count if they're deliberating or making any plans or recommendations forward on any topic, as if it has not explicitly been voted upon by the governing body. And so in reality, all actions taken forth on things such as the topic of the last 2 meetings have all been in violation by definition. And that's a real thing that we really need to be aware of, and cannot move forward on any individual doing anything like that independently, especially speaking on behalf of the commission, having meetings with members of the public, having meetings with any other body. That's all in violation of our rules, our codes, and state law.
So when Scott met, well, and myself and John, I'm partly guilty here too. So when we met with the Port of St. Helens, without first getting permission from the
Well, notification, not permission.
okay,
So when you met with them, not the presentation to them, right? But when you met, did you meet prior? Because the presentation was voted and agreed upon by the body. But any action,
not prior to we met with them.
are you discussing the,
Talking about when John, Scott and myself met with the port, you know, Sean
just
Clark.
recently, right?
Yeah, a month or so ago, a couple months ago.
Yep.
But in my knowledge, that was never approved. It was never discussed here in the Parks and Trails Commission.
It was.
It was discussed and it was approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, by vote. So that's okay. But any action that had been taken independently on the project, I mean, Lynn's been saying she's been working on the thing for 1.5 years, and that she's made a lot of actions. And while I don't want to discredit the intention, understand that it's nothing personal, the reality is that's not technically okay. And we have to move forward as a group.
Well, that's the point I tried to make. I mean, I forgot that we approved that here. I didn't remember that.
Jerry.
But let me finish. You know, I've tried to be, you know, transparent in all things. And I know that the individual actions of our subcommittee obviously have been incorrect, but like I say, Kathy said it was okay to do. So I mean, I just think that anytime that anyone does anything in this committee, you know, we should let everyone else know what's going on.
Absolutely.
I want to clarify that you call the Urban Trail Committee meetings.
Yeah, I did. Oh, definitely.
Me.
Oh, no. I take responsibility for that and proudly take responsibility for that, even though I am now a criminal. But I will, if I'm not arrested, I will notify Kathy and before any other meetings, so they are not.
Okay, so I would ask, rather than debate it here, what's correct and what's not correct, that you send your concerns directly to Kathy, give her some time to look into it. And then I would ask that she would come to our next commission meeting and go into detail about what is appropriate for subcommittees, what is not, so that we have a good understanding.
As
I don't
according,
believe that anybody has acted maliciously or that they've been planning meetings to try to go under the radar. I don't think that's the case. But if there are areas that could be done better or be done properly, I think everybody would be happy to do that, but
even the subcommittees of the planning commission and the city council. Would be like you and I are supposed to committee or subcommittee on, with the vacant lots. That would still be, a governing body. with the same standards.
I would appreciate her insight rather than sit here and
Right,
all of us share what we think.
right.
I'd like to give her some time to look into it and come back with a response.
And I think that's super appropriate. And just to circle back, part of my including that in here, the fact that after I became aware and bringing it up to members of the commission specifically and explicitly, I was still communicated with in ways that I find inappropriate during that time. And attempted coercion to continue and attend those meetings, even though I was aware and made them aware that it was inappropriate to do so.
Yeah, I hope that wasn't me, was it? You can say yes, it
A
was.
little bit.
Okay.
Way to go, Jerry.
Well, we had quite a discussion on all of that, and how we could go back and forth, and then we thought we got the clarification
Right.
from Kathy Payne about that particular meeting where we can have too many people and how many people was on the board right now, and it kept varying, and suddenly one person goes, and we've got a subcommittee with
Right.
X number of people, and suddenly one person came on.
And that's why I just wanted to make it clear with the actual documents, with the actual ORSs, with their actual meetings laws.
Sound like we never had this problem until we added subcommittees.
And therefore,
Too much rules.
No, we're, once again, we're breaking into individuals' things.
I-
I'm gonna make a committee just for this over here. Maybe just for this over here. The person's, yeah, he's not on our committee, so we'll have our committee, and we'll agree on.
so I'd like to, again, just encourage all members of the commission to keep the statements and clarifications and definitions in mind as I have brought them forth, and I know that's a lot, and I appreciate you all from listening in. But I do think they're all applicable to conduct of, Commissioner Pettit over not just the last couple of months, but, for several years and, including, direct violations of our code of conduct. So,
Can I ask a question about that code of conduct you're quoting? That's the same one that was very hard felt. It was done a while ago that. Has everybody really signed that, John? Has there ever been a tabulation of how many people signed that?
I'd have to check with Kathy, but I believe most have, yeah.
So there's some people,
I think it's implied.
it was,
But not all, yeah.
I want to say, I think that there could be several people that never signed that particular thing because a lot of people didn't agree
right,
with a lot of what went on in that code of conduct.
but it is currently part of our requirement to do so and according to the municipal code, and we've all had the opportunity to access it and sign it. You've all been required to know what's in it and agree to it. Whether or not we personally agree to it, if we want to continue to serve on the commission, we are held responsible to adhere to it, right?
Because we're all volunteers in this.
Correct.
And we're not perfect, we're volunteers.
The bottom line is, we need to work together.
Yes,
Yeah,
We may not get along with each other all the time, but we need to work together.
I agree.
All of us together, not just, like I said.
Yep.
You're
Okay.
gonna have your differences.
So,
But I wanna make a comment here. So, we have a subcommittee for the urban trail. And, we've met, 4 or 5 times at least, it's been going on for 3.5, 4 years. If the commission says, hey, we don't wanna have subcommittees. I can live with that. But when we start discussing the urban trail here, we might be here for, a couple extra hours, which is, I can live with that. But I mean, the reason we formed subcommittees is, I was very interested in the trail. Howard was very interested, Lynn was very interested, Dana was very interested, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they were very interested, whereas some people weren't interested in it at all. And by having the subcommittees, we could meet individually and we never made decisions. we made recommendations, you know, on what we wanted, you know, to happen. So, you know, Jacob, I understand, you know, your position on, you know, hey, let's not have subcommittees. If that's the way that's the way the whole Parks and Trails Commission feels, hey, I'm good with that. But then when I have a discussion item on, now it's pretty well moved, it's pretty well, we've pretty well gone quite a ways on urban. But we have spent hours and hours and hours working on that, which if we didn't have a subcommittee, that would have had to be done in here.
And I think it would be appropriate, not at this meeting, but perhaps when moving forward, because we do have the right to make amendments to our bylaws, that we could, discuss and make clear definitions for subcommittees, including roles, responsibilities, and action, notice, etc., so that we are in compliance. It's totally a possibility. We don't have to disband the subcommittees. That way we could still have opportunities to discuss things.
Well, I think right now, from what I've gathered, as long as we allow Kathy, hey, you know that we're having a meeting, then we can go ahead and have it. I was just addressing the point that Jacob, I do think that subcommittees sometimes are advisable. I was in Texas for a couple of weeks when the last meeting was held. And so I didn't get to go to it, but my understanding was with the Milton Creek Woodland Reserve, there are a lot of people that want to have input in that.
Right.
So my understanding was people says, hey, we're not gonna have a subcommittee to deal with the Milton Creek. Because a lot of people want to have input in that.
During the Milton Creek subcommittee, for example. We already have this many people on the subcommittee. I'm sorry, we got that many people already, you can't be a part of it.
Right. Exactly.
That was
Right.
the reason for the proposal I gave us.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, hey, I'm good with it. You know, if more than 4 people, right now, I got 3 people on the Urban Trails Committee. Jacob, listen to me here. So right now we have 3 people on the, you know, the Urban Trail Subcommittee, you know, and if, you know, let's say 5 people wanted to be on it, hey, I'm good with that.
And see, I don't have a problem with that. But that's where I'm saying though, is we're dividing. So this person don't like trails, we're gonna keep him out of the trails subcommittee and we'll just figure it over
We
here.
never can.
I'm using that as an example.
Now.
No, I'm using that as an example.
And just as a quick clarification, that's why I wanted to make very clear that the subcommittees are in themselves a governing body. And therefore, a quorum is considered half or over half of even the
I'm
subcommittee.
not saying that's what happened, but I was using that as an example.
Absolutely, but I think if I could say so, that the reason I believe that they've been limiting the amount of people on the subcommittees was because we were under the assumption that the subcommittees were then not a violation of quorum because the definition of them independently being a governing body was not made clear.
That's
And now that we understand that, we can change that moving
you know,
forward.
Jacob, I think what Dana's saying is totally true.
Yeah,
Because prior to all this, you know, I was told that a quorum was less than 50%. So, you know, even though all 4 people, they voted, it wasn't a final decision. So Dana's totally right, that
Right.
the subcommittees were limited initially because of what we thought the rules were. And I didn't, and the other thing too is, I think Dana said this, it took me a while for it to sink in. I was listening to it when you said it, and I don't know, so if you have a subcommittee and you have greater than a quorum of the so if there's 4 people in the subcommittee and
3 people show up.
3 people show up,
You
you
have
have
a
a
quorum.
quorum. Yeah,
I would just ask, we table this discussion.
Yep.
yeah,
I agree.
okay.
We don't have an agenda items on subcommittee, so
So,
Lisa has asked for a moment.
I just want to address the code of conduct. No one has signed that, no board or commission members. You might, if you're thinking of something you signed, you might be thinking of the code of ethics. Staff was directed not to send it out to have anyone signed, so it could still be coming. But right now, it's just the code of ethics that everyone signs.
A lot of people were interested in coming out. So I didn't think that we've really been formally asked to sign that.
But it's.
It is still-
It's still.
it's still applicable and it's referenced.
It's still, right, it's still an active code.
Okay. So
Discussion on this matter before we move.
Yeah, so I would like to, cease the discussion, on the code of conduct references, if that's okay, item number 3. I'm completed with my comments, and then
We scratch number 4 since it's no longer applicable.
it's no longer appropriate. And so in regards to number 5, when, following the last meeting, in which I brought up, concerns about the conduct initially, and I had, requested guidance on how to move forward. Part of what I had, received back, at that time was, pull it up. So I wanted to move forward appropriately in a way that, was in alignment with what we should be doing, and I was sent the part of the municipal code, the 2.74.050 in regards to removal and resignation, as the appropriate pathway to move forward. That being said, for concerns in regards to conduct, etc., it's our responsibility as commission members to bring those concerns up to city council and allow them to discuss and deliberate as they feel it is appropriate to do so. It's not our decision as a commission to request the resignation or removal of a commissioner, but simply to bring that up to the city council that they may investigate, hold a hearing, and make decisions as they deem appropriate. And so I would like to move forward with that, as that is what I was told is the appropriate pathway. So it would basically, I would like to make a motion that that we request that city council review the conduct as not only that we've discussed, but as is viewable on past public meetings, and deliberate and make decisions as they deem appropriate.
I would ask if anybody has any specific concerns or areas that you would like the council to look at, to please forward those on, because I don't think it's realistic to ask them to watch lots of meetings.
Absolutely. Is it okay if we email those rather than discuss them publicly?
Appropriate. Howard.
I'll delicately say this. Appreciate all the hard work that you've done on coding all these rules and regulations for us. Once again, we're all just volunteers here. I would like to see, and then you guys put in a lot of work, so I really hate to see we lose Lynn as a board member or commissioner. Think with her saying that she's going to resign from it, I think we need to move on. I think that we've all learned an important lesson from this. And minorly, the quicker we put this behind us, the better this commission is going to be. I almost like to say it should be a dead issue after today.
So are we talking about removing it from the board?
So you missed part of that discussion. Okay, following the last meeting, and I had brought up concerns about Lynn's conduct, and I had requested advice from Kathy and Melissa on how to move forward. I was given references again to the municipal code, things that I've already read earlier in this meeting. So part of that follow-up is to refer the conduct to city council for them to review and make decisions as appropriate. So not us as commissioners of this board, we are in no right able to remove a commissioner from the board itself. And while that is not explicitly my intent, I want to be very clear on that I'm not directly requesting a removal of Lynn from the board. However, it is the appropriate action to move forward and address the conduct issues with city council. It's their responsibility to review them, to hold a hearing, and to make decisions as they deem appropriate, not ours.
Yeah,
So how did item number 4 inform the agenda? If that's not your intention for somebody.
so I will.
Of the chair, just remove her from the chair position, because at that time, I didn't feel that she was upholding her position as chair, but she's removed herself as chair.
Okay, so now I feel, and I'm agreeing with Howard on this. I feel we handle our own business in-house. We keep it amongst us and not let it leak out to everybody else to make a decision for us as a group. Lynn stepping down. If she wanted to step down, I'm okay with that. She wants to stay on the commission, I'm more than happy with that too. I don't think, like Howard said, we just randomly start kicking people off the commission or having city council kick people out. If we can keep it out of their hands, they have bigger fish to fry. They have bigger things to concern themselves with. I think we're handling this as a commission. And I think by Lynn stepping down on her own, takes care of that. That's just my saying, so I would like to leave it out of city council's hands.
May I clarify a point on that? Because I hear you and I appreciate that, and I'm not speaking against that at all whatsoever, right?
Well, you're allowed to, you don't have to agree with me.
However,
I'm teasing.
However, there are policies in place as best they are defined, and I will say that I am grievously offended by the fact that the state of Oregon does not take conduct into any of their ethics, but explicitly doesn't discuss conduct or demeanor. I think that's wrong, but our city of St. Helens does. And so it is written into our municipal code that this is the actions that we take when we have concerns. Now, they are not required or obligated in any manner to remove Lynn from the board. And realistically, that would be the absolute last ditch thing that would happen. But them being aware of conduct, of our concerns, and not just from us, but from anyone else who feels it's appropriate to bring any items to them, allows them the opportunity to not only review it and see if it's valid in any way, but to make corrections perhaps to the municipal code, the code of conduct, or other policies for the city itself to address those issues in the future. Allow opportunities for constructive remediation and guidance moving forward that we are not able to do so. HR does not control us. Unfortunately, we are not responsible to anybody or any organization other than city council. And therefore, that's the correct action to move forward. It's not a call to have her removed from the board. It is simply to have all of this stuff reviewed and discussed that they may guide us because they're our government.
Right, but like I said, I think we handle it amongst ourselves just fine. For example, I coach high school baseball. If I went to the varsity coach, every time one of my kids did something wrong, he don't have time to judge or coach his team. We handle it as a team. So we here are a team. We handled it as a team. We don't need to run to mom and dad. Get little baby in trouble. You know what I mean? We are a team. We handle it as a team. If we can't handle it as a team, then we need to take it to the next step. But I think we are all grown-ups here. We're all adults. We can handle it as a team.
While I
Say something here. Can handle it as a team and not then handle it as a team, so you just say we can just pretty much eliminate.
No, I'm saying if we could, if it gets out of control where we can't handle it, then that's when we go, but I think we handle it right now.
I think the fact
If
that
it keeps
we've
going,
had,
then we step up.
the fact that we've had the topics of the last two meetings,
I
in
wasn't,
addition to the
I
fact,
wasn't at the last 2 meetings, so I didn't know what happened.
but in addition to the fact that you yourself called and asked Brandon to run this meeting because we couldn't handle it ourselves.
Because
Is a clear example of the fact that unfortunately this particular topic, I think, is outside of our hands.
well,
I think in my 2 cents worth for. You know, I think I know how Paul feels. I think I know how Jake feels. I think I know how Howard feels. Probably I know how Lynn feels. You know, as I said earlier, you know, that's 5 people. I think this is a learning experience. I've learned about subcommittees. I'll call Kathy the next time we have them. If we want to have more than 4 people on a subcommittee, we can have more people. I've evaluated laws. I've used this as a learning experience. Thank you, Dana. And I'm kind of with Paul, Jacob, and Howard on this, enough has been said, enough has been done. Let's move on,
I've never gotten a chance to defend this, ever, on 4 meetings. So I have to bring my spouse here to be able to steamroll everybody here.
Well, no, I don't think that's that's not what he's saying. I think it's like, dude, I'm getting dizzy in the head having to listen to this.
I'd like to explain myself. I've been called out for not following process. I follow all the process. The person who accused me of that has not followed process.
right?
So it's just, I'm like giving a nod to class.
I wanna say something here. Let me interject here for a second. I totally agree that Lynn, sorry, Lynn, I wasn't gonna use any names or things, but I do think Lynn has said some things against you that were totally inappropriate. I just think that was not right at all. And I felt very bad for you because I thought Lynn was totally wrong. Howard felt wrong. But, do we want our pound of flesh or do we want to move on and, make this a functional?
Well, let me respond to that. I tried to move on the last meeting. That's why I brought that proposal for everybody to be part of it. And then starting off with the meeting, I was gonna make a motion, just so we wouldn't have any of that agenda be spoken about. But I talked to Brandon and then talked to Lynn, and she wanted to say some things at the beginning. And again, she maligned me at that, during that process. And then I get here, and then I tell people, this is not the proper process for, somebody to speak on the agenda, when we have it on the agenda. And then again, they get to just speak again and steamroll me.
That was me. I'm sorry for that.
So it's just,
I
I'm quite frustrated, and I'm about ready just to remove myself from it.
I wasn't at the last 2 meetings. I don't know what happened.
But
I showed up last week.
If I can just interject for a second, we are responsible to keep up to date on all meetings. I mean, I've heard from these two about not being, we didn't know anything about it. You're supposed to know. You're supposed to be reviewing all these videos and all that. You're supposed to be up to date. And you can't use it as an excuse for something that, for anything else.
I showed up last week. The meeting was canceled. I still showed up.
Yeah.
I saw the note on the door.
Yeah.
Even though I did get a phone call from somebody, I got later, Howard filled me in. And so,
I'd also like to make another quick comment too, just so that you are aware that part of my decision to move forward in the most appropriate avenues that I was instructed to move forward on was the fact that during our last meeting, I asked clearly and specifically more than once whether or not Lynn was willing to move forward in a cooperative manner with the decision of the rest of the commission, including one of which had already been voted and agreed upon by the entire commission. And Lynn refused to answer that. And unfortunately, that made clear to me that she was unwilling at that time to move forward cooperatively with the remainder of the commission. I no longer feel it is appropriate for us as commission members to move forward until further discussions have been had with the appropriate person.
And that's further evidence.
I have the right to do that. I was just speaking my piece.
Totally.
If you want to handle this and do that, that's completely okay with. I'm just giving you my piece.
Absolutely.
Like I said earlier, we're not always gonna agree, but we do need to work together and get along.
Yeah.
Even if we don't, I know society today, if you disagree with somebody, they're outcasted. I'm not like that. I can have a completely different point of view than you and still like you.
I would ask,
The words that I said was, I always.
Scott,
And that wasn't enough.
I really like you. I think you're a great guy. You have great ideas. You are a go-getter. You are an outstanding human being. You know what? So do I, but you know what? I work 13 days on, 1 day off. I coach high school baseball when I get off work. So I don't have all the time to watch the. I get that, and I understand. But like I said, I think you're a great guy. You were a big asset to this commission. Lynn, I think you're a great person. You are a huge asset to this commission too. I'm not talking about me. Somebody has to be the bigger person. Somebody has to step up and say, you know what, here's an olive branch. Somebody has to say, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, now that everything's out in the open, all the dirty laundry's on the table. Somebody has got to offer an olive branch.
I've never gotten to divorce, everything like that. I am willing to go forward, without voicing them, but I just want everybody to know that I've been.
And yes, I know, I've shut you down like 2 or 3 times today.
I've been stifled for 4 meetings.
Well, I have shut you down today because this is all
But I
overwhelming.
want to make it clear that from the April meeting, I was on the agenda. I did all the protocols.
Yes,
I never got put on that agenda.
I had a game in April, I wasn't here in April either.
It's also, steamrolls from that.
Well, and you know what the great thing is now? Lynn steps down, you're the chair, so you have to.
I don't want to.
I would again ask, if you do have specific concerns, if there's things you think the city council should be aware of, please send them to Kathy Payne and she will forward them on to the city council for us to review.
Appropriate, not really going to you, because you're a ranger.
I would recommend going to Kathy and she can send it out to the entire council,
Are we having
in the
to
appropriate manner.
vote on item 5, or is it just,
I didn't
I
read.
don't
over
know.
if We had to make.
so anybody that wants to can just make a referral?
Correct.
Okay.
I was just hoping that we could, as a group, agree to be, I guess, in support of working together and cooperatively and by the rules, and procedures that we have.
I'm willing to give this a chance without going to city council. But if you wanna take it to city council, or
I got better things to do with
it's
my time.
completely up to you. I can't tell you no.
Yes.
I can't tell you, yeah, do it.
We're wasting time
I can just tell you my opinion.
I think the majority.
All we're doing right now is we're hurting each other. Yeah, we're not doing the parks any great service right now. We're not doing the people that stay on any great service right now.
Especially the new members that just.
Are you
came on
willing to
board.
apologize to
Just
Scott?
real laugh.
The new members are pretty quiet back there.
I haven't talked to Scott about that because.
So are you willing to apologize for bashing him or whatever you did?
I didn't bash anybody. I don't know how to do that. All I said was I wasn't part of this.
Not the way I
I
see
wasn't
it.
a-
Not the way I see it.
Well, I'm.
Pretty brutal.
Is there any additional, anything additional that needs to be said about number 5?
Because I think we've got 2 of our best people. We've got Brandon here to hear our concerns. We've got John here, the city administrator, who's hearing our concerns and realizing that
Yeah, you're.
we've got a little direction here.
It did catch my attention.
I love you. I really mean that when I say.
Opinion is Scott made, and there was a motion at the last meeting to move forward with no subcommittee and to bring it to the commission every time we meet, and he's got a plan for that, and that was already moved and approved, so.
When we did that, we moved and approved, we're supposed to move on. But he would have continued to go with the agenda. Irrelevant, and Dana had asked you a number of times, so I'm still confused. So that whether you are working on that project alone or you're working with the commission, I'm still confused.
Technically, this is in alignment with item number 6, which is the Milton Creek Reserve.
I can ask, due to time constraints, if we could stretch number 6 the next time.
I vote yes.
That's up to you.
That's
You
my
facilitating
All in favor?
it. Drop our motion. I make a motion to drop it. Anybody second?
Second.
No.
Also, number 7, Jerry, I would ask that we, sure,
You wanna wait till, hold that off till next time?
let's stay on the 6 real quick. All in favor of tabling Milton Creek Reserve until next meeting?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And Jerry, I would ask that we also put off any subcommittee activity until Kathy's had a chance to review and come back with additional information.
I'll make that motion.
Second it?
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed?
7 is deleted for
I'm looking for the agenda.
The new urban trail subcommittee member.
Now we can have more than 4 people.
Yeah. Aye.
Mark?
Number 8, there's an item, annual report to the city council with your name, Scott, is that?
Yeah, I was just, wondering where we're at on that. I thought, what was. I haven't gotten a report or, have any. So that we can review and,
I think our last meeting. Lynn delivered the report in its entirety, correct?
Yes, yeah. It was to be given at the regular meeting.
Yeah.
And, you opened it and so did Buck and you saw it and it looked good. And, Melissa said she couldn't open it.
I did not.
So, yeah. So it's already together. So, if you want to go ahead and give it to the city council, it's all done. And I've got everybody's statements that I asked for by the 1st of June. And if you go ahead and give it, all I ask is that you let them know that I put that together. So if they have any questions.
I was confused though, was it I thought that there was different dates for different, parks or something, when we had to have information in by a certain date, or we're.
By June 1st, any update, we have an annual update every June.
Are we just making one report out of this committee to the
Yes,
city council? Just
one report for all the
I
parks.
thought I saw something somewhere where there were different
And we give
dates
it-
for different people or whatever, like you wanted something from me at a certain date. and then
Those are
something
just
from-
our individual reports to the correction itself.
Okay, that one.
Annual report.
I got it.
what is?
Thought it was overdone. When does it have to be, what is?
It's just a report
It
on.
was supposed to be done
What's
in
happening.
June, but now it's been put off till July.
Oh, yeah.
Because she couldn't open it and didn't provide it in the packet.
Cause I was under the impression it was a done deal. It was over, that was something.
So that can be given in July.
So just
You just need to talk to Kathy Payne about what date.
July 17th.
July 17th, okay.
I don't have a July 3rd meeting.
And since we haven't seen it though, since the commissioners haven't seen it, are we able to view it at our July meeting and give a final approval before it's submitted to the city council?
Who hasn't? If someone can send it to me, I can.
That was my whole thing.
I'll send it to you, or I can, yeah. I can, that's all.
It was supposed to be.
I'd like to make a motion that Lynn presents the report to the.
It needs to be the chair and I'm stepping down.
It doesn't have to be the chair, it can be any commissioner.
It would be better.
It could be
The chair
anybody.
was
It doesn't have to be the chair.
It's up for this group to decide, but,
Yeah.
there's other groups and commissions too that present with more than one person, so it doesn't have to be just one either.
Well, and we can review it and make that decision at our next meeting
Yeah.
too.
We could all show up and.
Yeah, you could sit up at the table with me, Jacob.
No, Lynn did put a call out if you had any updates on your particular parks, if there was anything you'd like to add in that report. So maybe now there's time to, if you didn't get anything in and you would have liked to, that there's time to do that.
I'll get you some, 1/6 and 7th Street Park.
Okay, any other comments on number 8?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
is now the time to comment. There's something wrong with the park. The bridge isn't easily accessible. There's about a 4-inch gap at the end of one of the bridge marks, or not the bridge marks, but at the end of the bridge. And the person in the wheelchair had a real hard time going up it. I don't know if we could get some gravel put in there or not. And I don't know if this is the right time to say that, but just wanted to point that out.
So Nick, you were a little choppy. It sounds like a maintenance issue. Could I have you call Buck and talk to him about that?
Yep, that's totally fine. I'm sorry. I'm volunteering for CCMH right now, so I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll email.
Okay, thank you.
And usually though, that would come in discussion items if we have something else to mention.
So Buck, I'll get a couple of updates from one from Jacob and another one from Paul, and I'll add them in and send it to you.
Okay, Lynn, Japanese Gardens.
Okay, there's not much right now. We scheduled one from 9 to 12 on April 20th, and 3 of us showed up and got a lot of work done. One was Brandon and Greg Pettit and Lynn, myself. And we worked for 3 hours and cut dead trees down and bushes and cleared it out and got a lot of work done. Pretty happy with it. And so we can have more informal work that's done on Japanese gardens. Whoever wants to participate in that. I know a couple of years ago, we just started working and clearing things, and it was, and every time you do something like that, I gotta mention this, you always have to let maintenance know when you're going to a park, and you just say, oh, okay, I've got Thursday free and, in the evening, and we'd like to go ahead and pull weeds at Japanese gardens or Ivy or whatever it is, but always let Buck Tupper know that you're gonna go there, because he'll have his crew pick up the debris. And that's what I did, whether it was at the library or any place else. That was that at that time during COVID. But and that's it for the Japanese gardens right now.
If I could just make a request again to be notified when you guys are planning the cleanups, because I've requested for many months to be participant in any of those, and I've gotten 0 notice ahead of time. I would really love to participate, but I need to know when they are.
Well, actually, we changed the hours from 9 because you had to go to work by 12. And so we changed the hours from 9 to 12 so that you could attend, and you were on Zoom that day.
Comments about the old business? So I guess one thing we do need to address is Lynn's resignation as chair. Scott, you've been serving as vice chair.
We're talking for the new chair.
Nominations for anybody to be the chair.
Anybody who wants, yeah. Paul, I nominate Paul.
Too bad he got here, if he wasn't here, we could have done that.
Right.
That's why I volunteered the last time, because nobody raised it.
I'm not a paperwork person, so I'd be terrible there.
I don't have time.
I was just chair last year.
Not you.
Well, it is a 6-month term, so that's what I find appealing about it. So I know it's really long.
Yeah, I would
Would you like
recommend,
to remain chair?
if Scott, yeah, if Scott would remain chair, I would make a motion that Scott be chair. I think we've been rotating it.
I'll second it.
That's a great thing. I make the motion that if Scott would consider being chair, that he.
Okay. All in favor?
All right, you okay, Scott?
Unanimous.
Nick, how'd you vote? I haven't seen that.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
Be listed as a negative.
You are willing to serve in that capacity though.
Yeah, and we'll.
Nominated, I will not. Elected, I will
We
not.
also need a nomination for a vice chair.
I recommend Dana,
It's-
if she's willing to do it, that would be your nomination.
Are you guys willing to work with me as your vice chair?
I don't like you, remember?
But I know.
You raise.
We're on the fence.
No, I think,
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I think this is a productive meeting regardless of, what happened here. I mean, the feelings that were
I'll
involved.
nominate Dana.
I'll second that.
Favor?
Fine.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That was 9.
Unanimous.
All right, any further discussion before we move to our staff report?
Floor is yours.
Oh boy, I'll make it quick. I do appreciate everybody's passion on the committee and that you guys seem like you're kind of
working things through. I think it's great. I like that there's not been a lot of button heads. You guys are talking and all that, and it's great to see, because the last few, like you said, have been pretty unproductive. So it's good to see. Sorry that Lynn is stepping down, but on from there. So Citizens Day in the Park, this Saturday, 11 to 2. Be there with your bells on.
Can I ask how many of us are thinking of coming? Please, so we can stay in the park.
Well, I'm gonna be there for certain food.
I'm gonna have to pass this on. I won't be able to be there. So pass this on to Scott. That's your pass to get in, to set up the table and the canopy and bring all the handouts and that kind of thing.
I'm in the, doing the food service, so I can't really.
Yeah, I'll clear my day.
What time do you want us to show up to help you?
What is it, set up like 9:30, right?
No, you have to be there at 8:30.
8:30?
You need to talk to Christina Sullivan, so
Okay.
that she knows I'm not gonna be doing that.
Okay, would you mind letting her
I'd be
know
there at 8:30.
I can let her know that, yeah.
that you won't be doing it? Yeah, great. And so,
And I'll pass on the information that she gave me to you. It's in an email.
okay, great, that'd be wonderful. So then, 8:30 AM for setup. And I should have a canopy, at least, I think I have a canopy.
I have one if you need to borrow.
Or do we have to supply our own
We
canopy?
have a lot of them, but I don't know if we have enough.
I have one if you need to borrow one.
Okay, great.
It's nice and fancy.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah,
It can
absolutely.
only be 10 feet.
It's 10 feet.
Yeah, mine's a 10 by 10 too, I think it's,
But if you need to, just shoot me a text.
thank you so much.
I'm planning to be there, but I'm gonna be bouncing back and forth between the water. I'm just whoever has those least amount.
Here's my canopy. I'm letting a friend borrow my canopy.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna go on with you. Ready?
Okay, go on.
Close.
At Dalton Lake, we've got the kiosk installed, bench installed, the bee house installed, and hopefully it's right where you wanted it and everything's good.
It's great.
As far as Melissa's position, we all know that she's gone, but that's a still work in progress. We're hoping to get something going. Not sure exactly what that looks like right now. 13 nights at McCormick Park is going on. We had power improvements there. I've heard a few complaints, but not too many, so hopefully things are going well.
Do they have all 15 minutes?
I don't know that for sure. I don't even.
4 nights last time.
Yeah, I know we have 4 for sure, but after that, play it by ear. I know the last one had a lot better turnout. Civic Pride Park, we did get city signs or city park signs, the blue and white ones with the arrows pointing towards the park, going both directions on 12th Street. We got one behind Red Apple or Market Fresh, whatever you want to call it now, that points to the park. So there is a little bit of signage for it now, and I know we have the grant to improve the signage there, so that's installed. We do have one summer helper in parks now. He's doing a great job. His name is Brendan Clegg. He's a good kid. He's working hard. Campbell Park, we are weed and feeding and fertilizing that area. Soon we will be getting our Genie boom lift over there to limb all the trees that are really sagging down. We're gonna try to get more sun to hit the grass, especially in the irrigated areas, to try to promote grass growth. So that's moving forward. Another thing on our radar is to repair the irrigation at 18th and Old Portland Road. If you see that, where there's a flower garden area that has been taken care of, that it's all mostly dead because the irrigation has been broken for a long time. That's in our radar to get repairs, so we can try to pretty that up a little bit. And other than that, we're mowing all the time and weed eating all the time and trying to keep up. That's about all I have.
So doing my part in Nob Hill of weed eating for you.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm not gonna mow your. I'll have for it.
All right, you've heard enough from me today. I just want to thank you all for all that you do. I've had positive interactions working with each and every one of you. This commission has accomplished so much good just since I've been associated with it over the last couple of years. And always has worked well together, always has accomplished a lot. And I hope that we can move past this and move forward in a positive direction. And get through this. I go to a lot of meetings. A lot of those meetings are very confrontational, very uncomfortable. And this was never one of those uncomfortable meetings, so. Love it. I would love it if it wasn't uncomfortable, so. Just thank you all for all that you do. I know that we can continue to work together. Like Jerry said, I hope this will be a learning experience that we can move forward and practice some better communication and work things out. Because we're all here because we love the parks, we're passionate about them. We want to improve them. We want them to be the best that they can be. And all of you serve an important role on this commission. I not always agree, and that's fine, but you all have your own areas of expertise, things that you're interested in, and that's what makes this commission work so well. So again, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being willing to work through this and overcome and hopefully get back to a positive place. And if there's ever anything I can do to help, please let me know. Okay. Donuts.
No, Brandon, thank you.
I'll make a note.
all you.
I want to say something for discussion. Right, Scott.
Well, I was wondering if you can facilitate 6 meetings.
It's all-
Yeah, so.
Probably not. Yeah, are there any discussion items?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of things here. One, if I strong arm Dana, I want to apologize. I try not to strong arm people too much. The other thing I want to talk about, last week I was interviewed by Town Talk Cafe. And a big part of the last part of the discussion was about trails. And so I know when I talked about the urban trail, I probably said the Parks and Trails Commission as a group, okay? Because we've discussed that, but I also talked about the Milton,
Wilton Creek.
Forest Woodland Reserve. I also talked quite a bit about that, about, the Camas Fields we wanted to save, the Boise Park we wanted to save, the pocket quarries that were there. I said, I talked about that and I know that a couple times I said, this is my opinion. And then also I know that Doug Morton also wanted to have the Frogmore Trail. I'm calling it the Frogmore Trail, but that goes across at the end of the development. That goes on the railroad tracks and it would hook up again then with the Milton Creek Trail. And I mentioned that and I said, first of all, I said the Woodland probably be 4 or 5 years down the road before that happened. And then I said, the Frogmore Trail, basically I discussed what it was briefly. And I said, that's probably quite a ways in the future, but those are things that we're looking at. And then I did close with one positive thing. I did talk about, I read the blurb that the city had put out on Citizens Day in the park. That it was going to be this Saturday. So, I tried not, I did represent this commission once when I talked about the urban trail, but the other ones I think was my opinion. I know I said that a couple times. Lynn?
Is that Steve Toskey's show?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's called Town Talk Cafe. I think.
On Fridays.
Yeah, it's on a podcast, but I'm not sure I want to listen to it. I'm done. I'm done.
You got.
Okay, I got some other things I'll discuss with Buck afterwards, but I thought I just, since we're full disclosures on things, I said it's only my opinion, but the city is burying some of the power lines up in my neighborhood that supply the pump station, the new sewer pump station. And there's a possibility that they're going to remove the telephone poles along the old Plymouth Street, which technically is along the border of the park. I come up with an idea because we have 2 poles that are extremely difficult for them to ever really get right in there because we have a lot of plantings. And I'm trying to set the seed. It could be years off. Who knows how quickly they work on it. But I said, maybe since those poles would be so hard to take out, maybe they could be converted to osprey platforms. Just so you know, I set that notion. I said, it's only my opinion. I'm not representing anything. I'm just saying to see people in city council and other stuff because they said the ultimate decision on that would fall to this city. So that's for another discussion someday. I just thought I'd
clarify that motion out there. Yeah.
Oh, I just have one thing, the Citizens Day Park coming up this Saturday, right?
Yep.
Was there any plans to, we've tried to cut as much grass and get that BMX track going as good as we can, but I just don't have enough people, so. Yeah, I didn't know, I know in the past, couple of years, I think you guys have been able to get the jail crew down there and clean the whole
When is
park
your
up
event?
before
Is your event Saturday?
the 22nd. Citizen Day in the Park, 22nd.
So that you're at BMX racing then?
No, what I'm
Oh.
getting at is in the past, and you guys have kind of like tried to clean up the park because everybody from the community
Right.
was coming to this.
Right.
corner
I'm
park,
just
and right
saying,
now
if
they're-
you do it on Thursday, that's plenty of time. Cause we have the work crew on Tuesday, Thursday, and Tuesday, I already have
Oh.
something for it, so I could probably have the work crew there
There's
Thursday.
just a lot of cut, you got the back of those hills. I mean, we try to do as much as we can, like when you drive up, we cut some of the flat area, but the back of the hills and along the fences, I mean.
Yeah, we back out on Thursday, that looks great.
Well, I was just thinking about like the Citizens Day in the Park on Saturday, trying to get it.
Yeah.
A little more.
What I'm saying is,
Okay.
we can do it on Thursday before this.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious if there was, that was all, that was it.
I can't say we'll get all of it, but we'll get a big.
It's a lot of cut.
Mine, I've seen your.
I've seen like
I've seen a vehicle there
3 or 4 times
sometimes,
they'll drive in,
yeah.
and then they go around the back side of it. I don't know if they're working there or not.
No, I think I've seen that same car too.
Because they come in from they come from 18. Like halfway down the block, then they drive in there and they get on the trail, and then they drive back there.
Oh, and I know that there is a sign there, maybe signs are just worthless, but there's a sign there that says no parking is blocked. But now
Oh,
that,
yeah.
now that you guys, it's fine with me, they removed all those rocks along the road.
Yeah.
People come there and I invariably go down there and I'm like, people are always parking in the grass now, let me cut the grass down along the road there.
Rocks are just such a
Somebody's gonna-
maintenance item for us. to
somebody's gonna
weed
call me
and
and-
everything else.
I don't think it's a big BMX racer,
But there is no parking, it's supposed to be parking on grass along that. I didn't know if there was any, maybe instead of no parking in this block, maybe. No parking on the grass or something. I was thinking about just driving some in the ground just to get people from parking, because, it reflects on us,
Right.
Ride the
And
track.
we have
and
to
then-
mow around the whole rocks for the.
Right.
We can try there.
Well. Cities are fine with that, I guess. You just gonna see, you're gonna probably go down there and it seems like, these those rocks are down there, there's like. People that use the track. Like, pack it on the grass now, and you're gonna see cars there. For whatever reason, I don't see that sign.
Sometimes they're kind of useless.
Any items before we wrap things up? I have.
And Paul, if you ever needed a hand because you had a lack of people to. Let me know if I'm available.
Twice.
I have something real quick. I just wanted to address the topics from the floor. I did get Kathy had heard that discussion, so I wanted everyone to know that if it's not on the, or if it is on the, excuse me, let me start over. If you're not letting people address it on the agenda where it's on that item, they do get to talk about it during topics from the floor. So unless you're gonna say you're gonna talk about it and then bring them up, they can talk about it at the beginning. Just so you know for future.
Read that again, Lisa. You can register with me.
So for topics from the floor, if there's an agenda item on there, if you're gonna let them speak about it on that agenda, during that agenda item, then they don't talk about it during visitor comments. But if you're not gonna let them talk during your discussion, they can bring it up during visitor comments.
So we can let people from the audience talk during our.
If
on the agenda.
yeah, if you guys wanted to, but you have
But they
to
have
make
to
that
do the
decision
agenda
collectively.
prior to showing up.
Sorry?
So Lisa, do they have to be on the agenda prior before showing up?
No, topics from the floor is for anyone to speak
But I
on.
mean, so let's say I showed up to talk. And so later on, the commission's gonna talk about that. Do they have, so do I have a right to talk at that, or do they have to say I have a right to talk at that?
You don't, the public doesn't have a right to speak on the particular issues unless you allow them to. The only thing they can come in and know they can speak on is the topics from the floor. The rest is up to you.
So like if I'm talking about 6th or 7th Street Park, I could say, it's on the agenda, I'll field questions after I discuss it. If I say no questions, then they can talk about it top of the floor.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm still not clear.
So we
I'm still not.
can allow public comments during the topics as they're stated on the agenda. So a visitor would be allowed to interject comments regarding the topics during the time of the topic.
So they would just raise their hand and they would say, I would like to talk on this. And then we say yes or no.
But if we're not going to allow them to do so, then their time to talk about it would be during topics on the floor before the.
So then you're saying then that would have to be addressed at the beginning of the meeting. So if someone shows up and says, hey, I want to talk about X thing.
So like for.
Wait, let me finish, Jacob. So let's say. I got the floor, Jacob. So let's say someone shows up here, they want to talk about the BMX. And they say, well, I want to talk about the BMX, but it's on the agenda. And we say, well. So we'd say, would you like to talk now, or do you want to talk during our discussion on that? And they say, well, I'd really like to kind of say more than 3 minutes. So then we'd have to vote on that at the beginning of the meeting then.
I don't know, it doesn't matter.
We could just let it off.
They have the right to make a comment.
Paul can say, when I get to the BMX, I'm not gonna discuss questions about this. And they can take it over at the topic of the floor. Or Paul can say, okay, after I'm done with my talk on the BMX, you can talk.
So it's our discussion whether we want
And we make that decision, we can make that decision at the beginning of the meeting or when we're actually discussing that.
They should be allowed the opportunity to speak.
So we need to say that to them.
They don't
It
have to.
doesn't say topics, it says attendees not on the, not topics.
They don't have to, you don't have to allow them to speak on anything. They can just speak at the beginning, or if you wanna say, we're gonna talk about that later, we're gonna bring you into that discussion. But like if you don't know what somebody's here on, unless they tell you. You know, that's up to them to come and
That's
speak.
kind of what I was thinking, you know,
Yeah.
we don't know what people are thinking at the beginning of the
Right.
meeting.
It's just like council, they don't. You know, really have people, and every once in a while, someone will say, can I say something? And then that's the mayor that would address them and say. No, we're not, either we're not gonna let you speak, or, yeah, sure, come on.
That's my understanding of all.
So be the chair.
Okay, that makes sense.
Watching them.
If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all.
Mine's out of line.
Yeah. Or you want to walk